Ever thought you knew how to learn? Well, think again. Let's begin by debunking some common misconceptions about learning. The first one being the easier it is to learn, the better. Surprisingly, that's not quite right. The authors of Make It Stick introduce us to the concept of desirable difficulties. These are challenges that, while initially seeming tough, promote deeper understanding and better retention. It's like training your brain to be a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. Another misconception is that repetition is the key to learning. Not necessarily. Repeating something over and over might help you remember it for a while, but it doesn't promote long-term retention. Instead, the authors suggest spreading out your learning over time. So, forget what you thought you knew. Learning is a whole different ballgame. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the fascinating world of effective learning strategies. Remember that time when? Well, that's exactly how you should be learning. As we dive into the second chapter of Make It Stick, we find ourselves immersed in the power of retrieval. But what does that mean? It's all about actively summoning information from the depths of our memory. Think of it like this. Your memory is a vast, sprawling library, and retrieval practice is the process of locating the right book, dusting it off and rereading it cover to cover. It's not just skimming through the pages, but really absorbing the content. Retrieval goes beyond mere repetition. It's not about how many times you read the book, but how many times you close it and try to remember what it said. This process of active recall strengthens our memory and understanding of the material, making the information stick in our minds like a catchy tune. So retrieving is the name of the game. Remember that. Who said learning has to be boring and monotonous? Let's spice things up. Instead of sticking to the same old, why not mix it up a bit? Our authors suggest a technique called interleaving, which is really just a fancy way of saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Or in this case, don't stuff all your knowledge into one subject at a time. Instead, mix up your practice. Juggle different skills or topics in a mixed format rather than blocked. This helps you to differentiate between concepts and, more importantly, to transfer your learning from one context to another. It's like cooking a gourmet meal. You don't just use one ingredient, right? You mix, you match, you experiment. So consider your learning journey as your personal recipe. Add a pinch of math, a dash of history, a sprinkle of science, and voila! You've got yourself a delicious learning stew. So, stir up your learning cocktail and see the magic happen. Struggling isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of learning. Now that's a phrase that flips the script on the usual narrative, doesn't it? But it's true. Embracing challenges and wrestling with new material is a cornerstone of effective learning. It's a process, a journey, if you will. It's about taking that giant boulder of ignorance and chipping away at it piece by piece. You see, the struggle isn't there to deter you. It's there to shape you, to strengthen you. Each challenge, each hurdle you cross is another step towards understanding, towards growth. And let's be honest, it's not always going to be a walk in the park. There's going to be frustration, there's going to be setbacks. But that's okay. That's part of the process. The real victory lies not in avoiding the struggle, but in facing it head-on, in embracing it. So buckle up and embrace the struggle. It's the path to mastery. You think you know? Think again. We often fall prey to the illusion of knowing, mistaking familiarity for understanding. Just because you've read a chapter doesn't mean you've grasped its essence. And this, my friends, is a common pitfall in the learning process. So, how do you avoid this illusion? The secret lies in monitoring your own learning. Check your understanding regularly. Test yourself. Ask, can I explain this to someone else? If the answer is no, you've got more work to do. Don't just passively absorb information, engage with it, wrestle with it, make it your own. Learning isn't a spectator sport, it's a contact sport. You've got to get in there, get your hands dirty. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. They're not a sign of failure, but a sign of effort, a sign that you're pushing your boundaries and growing. So remember, self-awareness is the key to successful learning. Learning styles, more like learning myths. Now hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to challenge some long-held beliefs. You've likely heard of visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, right? Well, it turns out these aren't as set in stone as we've been led to believe. Research has shown that effective learning isn't about catering to a particular style, but rather utilizing techniques that benefit all learners. These include practices like retrieval, spacing, and interleaving, which we've covered in earlier scenes. Sure, we all have our preferences, but these don't necessarily equate to better learning. It's like having a favorite flavor of ice cream. Just because you prefer strawberry doesn't mean you can't enjoy or benefit from a scoop of vanilla. So let's let go of this notion of learning styles. It's time we focus on the substance of learning, not the style. So ditch the styles and embrace the substance. Want to supercharge your brain? Here's how. We all have the power to improve our cognitive abilities like working memory and fluid intelligence. But how do we tap into it? Let's dive in. It's all about practice, feedback, and deliberate effort. Picture your brain like a high-speed train. The more fuel you give it, the faster it goes. This fuel is new information, challenges, and experiences. The more diverse and complex, the better. Next up is feedback. It's like the GPS for your brain train, guiding you, correcting your course when you veer off track. It's crucial to be open to feedback, to learn from it, and make necessary adjustments. Lastly, deliberate effort. It's the engine that powers your brain train. You've got to put in the work, push through the hard stuff, and stay committed. It might not be easy, but oh boy, is it worth it. Remember, your brain is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. Ready to make your learning stick? Let's do it. You've heard about the strategies that can help boost your cognitive abilities, but how can we apply this to real-world situations? The answer is simple: through active engagement. Active engagement means making a conscious effort to participate in your learning journey. It's about being present in the process, asking questions, seeking answers, and challenging the status quo. It's about retrieval practice and metacognition. Retrieval practice is the act of recalling information from your memory. It's not just about reading and rereading material, it's about actively pulling that information from your brain and putting it to use. Metacognition, on the other hand, is thinking about how you think. It involves self-reflection and analysis of your own learning methods. It's about understanding what works best for you and adapting your strategies accordingly. So, take these tips, make them stick, and watch your learning soar. And that, my friends, is how you make learning stick. From challenging misconceptions about learning and embracing desirable difficulties, to the power of retrieval and mixing up your practice, we've explored ways to pivot away from illusions of knowing and move beyond the confines of learning styles. We've discovered how to boost cognitive abilities and make learning stick, not just in classrooms, but in life. These principles are not mere theories, they are tools that you can wield in your everyday life to promote deeper understanding and retention. They challenge you to actively engage with your learning process, to embrace the struggle, and to continually monitor and adjust your strategies for maximum effectiveness. So what's next? It's time to put these principles into practice and witness the transformative power of effective learning. Thank you for sticking with us through this journey. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now go out there and make your learning stick.